those individuals who took certain actions these last week, or last 2 weeks really, they were disrespectful to the families involved. That's the bottom line. They were disrespectful to the families who had lost their loved one. And I can't understand why anyone would do such a thing in a context like that. I think it just defies a lot of what we all feel is the right and decent thing to do when you're dealing with a family in pain.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, there he is, the mayor, and we talked about this with Pat Lynch. Joining us now on the Malzberg panel is a senior fellow at FreedomWorks, Tom Borelli, and commentator on religion, society, and pop culture, Brad Hirschfield. And let me start with you, Brad. I won't say you defended the mayor, but the impression I have in my mind is that in the past you have said that the PBA and Pat Lynch had gone too far in saying there was blood on the hands of City Hall. Today, Pat Lynch said that this mayor continues to make things worse, and just less than 24 hours after the shooting of 2 more police officers, said that the mayor is emboldening the bad guys to shoot cops and creating that kind of climate. I mean, here he was again, trashing cops. Not apologizing for saying the cops might hurt my son, but trashing them again.
Look, Steve, I haven't defended the mayor. You are right. I think the phrase blood on one's hands has been used so dangerously over the years and over the centuries that it's not the right thing to do. I think for the mayor to talk about disrespect to a class of people who put their lives on the line every day to defend the rest of us, who themselves feel disrespected, is so profoundly tone-deaf on the mayor's part. In fact, the irony is that he praised these 2 plainclothes cops who of their own accord went to a robbery scene after they had clocked out and were shot, and he said they did it out of commitment. I think he's 100% right. Now, where is his commitment to them? I'll say the same thing today that I've said throughout. The mayor defended people going into the streets because they were upset at the police. He now has a moral obligation to lead at least as many tens of thousands into the streets in defense of cops for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Tom, you know, as Pat Lynch also said, you know, he's defended the First Amendment rights of these protesters, some of whom have said vile, vicious, hateful, destructive things and done criminal things. And yet he says the First Amendment rights of the cops shouldn't be protected.
Well, obviously, he's trying to have it both ways. You know, actions have consequences. When you stand in the public square with Al Sharpton, a known race baiter, and then you, in front of the public with the cameras rolling, you warn your son about dealing with the police because he happens to be black. There's no good that can come from that sort of leadership. I agree with the rabbi. He really needs to stand up and really be proactive. Drawing the line in the sand is I'm for police enforcement. The law, that's what it is, it's the law.
Yeah, well, we'll see, you know, what comes next out of the mouth of this mayor, because just when you think he can't make it worse, he continues to make it worse. All right, John Boehner won re-election today, Tom, as the Speaker of the House. There were, from reports I've seen, a couple of dozen, at least, conservative Republicans who said no, but that didn't change the outcome any. Good day for the country, or not so good a day for the country?
It could have been a lot better day for the country if we had gotten a few more strong conservatives to stand up for liberty and for principle. We have to give hats off for the 25 individuals who did stood up against the establishment, against that power, because Boehner could likely retaliate against them, give them lousy seat positions in their committees. He's done that before. We also have to give, you know, shout out to, you know, FreedomWorks. I'm with FreedomWorks, to the grassroots activists around the country. We put in 12,000 phone calls, 20,000 messages in 72 hours. It's going to take we the people pushing members of Congress to do the right thing for a smaller, more limited government and give us all freedom. And
Brad, you know, the mantra in the media is that anybody who voted against, any Republicans who voted against, of course, Boehner, are radicals and Tea Partiers, and what could be worse than a Tea Partier, and they don't want things to get done. But there was a landslide in November, and as a result, the Republicans hold the biggest advantage in the Congress that they've held in 80 years. And that's not because these people came out to vote and say, oh, compromise with Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama. It's because they came out and voted and said, we don't want you to have anything to do with them.
Well, I think, Steve, they voted for anyone. It was a throw the bums out race. I think really, you know, I don't believe in name calling. So I don't think that saying that the people who voted against Boehner are radicals is appropriate. And I don't think suggesting that Boehner's not committed to liberty is radical. I think it was actually a moment of strength for the party because they stood behind their leadership, and that's when we're at
All right,
strongest.
we'll continue when we come back. More with the Malzberg panel. Easy for me to say, don't go away.
And the fact is, this piece of legislation is not altogether different than legislation that was introduced in the last Congress. And you'll recall that we put out a statement of administration position indicating that the president would have vetoed had that bill passed the previous Congress. And I can confirm for you that if this bill passes this Congress, the president wouldn't sign it either.
Gee, I'm shocked. The only question is, ladies and gentlemen, when Obama vetoes the slew of bills that he will veto, will he use the same infamous executive order pen that he's been talking about? You know, I have a pen. Or will he have another pen? One for the veto, one for the order. Who knows? Welcome back to the Malzberg panel. Senior fellow at FreedomWorks, Tom Borelli, is with us, and commentator Brad Hirschfield is with us as well. All right, so Brad, so already the president is being the obstructionist, and I got to tell you, there's a chance that they will have enough votes to override this presidential veto, but he doesn't care. Because the American public's against almost every single policy, and everything he's for, the American public's against.
Well,
he's going to be an obstructionist the rest of the way, and he's going to issue executive order after executive order.
If he does, Steve, there's no question he is not playing to the strengths of his own party. Forget the strengths of the nation. There is an incredible irony that, having claimed the Republicans were the party of no, if President Obama turns the last 2 years in the office is becoming the president of no. And I think really the issue is here, if he's getting advised by the hardest-edged people who surround himself with, then he's getting very, very bad advice, especially on Keystone, where there really is room to navigate. And if he lets that get away from him, I think you're probably right. It's going to be no after no after no. And the truth is that is precisely what the country is tired of, whichever party is doing it. And if he thinks it's just a Republican issue, boy, is he in for an ugly wake-up call.
All right, Tom, Brad gave probably you and me this opening that America's tired of no, where I say anything the president says, say no to, because it's probably not good for the country. But that aside, let's focus on what we're talking about here, which is Keystone and the president's threat now to veto it. Or not threat, right. He'll veto it.
It's really not surprising. We knew he was going to veto it from the beginning. His climate change agenda is going to dictate the last 2 years of his administration. But in the end, I think this is really good because he's going to be exposed as the radical that he really is. Now he's going to be alienating blue-collar workers, union workers, who I believe are going to be testifying tomorrow in the Senate of why they want jobs. So now we have the obstructionist in chief really throwing his labor union members under the bus. And let's not forget, high energy prices harm those who can least afford to pay. So I'm excited for this agenda because this is a great way for conservatives to get middle-class voters and even unions and blacks.
And Tom, I want to go back to the Boehner thing a little bit. Eric Cantor did an interview on CNBC, or he wrote a commentary on CNBC.com saying Republicans should focus on energizing the economy because if they rally around their opposition to Obamacare and immigration, it would be a disservice to the American people. Makes me say, thank God he's out of there.
Then you wonder why he got knocked out in the primary.
What is he talking
clear.
about?
Look, he's a water boy for the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. This is what he was when in Congress, and this is what he's going to be doing outside lobbying Congress. He's about big government and giving special favors to special big business interests, whatever they may be.
Brad?
I think the personal attacks on Eric, who actually know are not helpful, and we're not going to agree about some things and agree about others. The important part about what he wrote was...
Well, I don't see a personal attack, by the way.
And here we agree. No, but here's the important thing, Steve.
Yeah.
He diagnosed a central problem in American politics and in American life, and that problem is short-termism. It's not only a political issue, it's a function of a culture in which everything is coming at us faster and faster. And where Eric is absolutely correct is we are going to have to figure out what it means to think in longer terms,
Right.
even as information
Right.
comes at us really fast.
Well,
And if
with
we
all-
cannot straddle that line,
Right.
it doesn't matter right, left, or center, we're going to make stupid
right, Tom.
decisions.
With
Go
all
ahead.
due respect, corporatism is not the way to advance the country in the short or long term.
And certainly more of Obamacare and letting it proceed, and letting Obama's immigration executive order proceed. That's not good for this country, long, short, or otherwise. Hey, gentlemen, great debate. Brad and Tom, thank you both very, very much. Appreciate it on the Malzberg panel. Coming up next, it's Gimme 5. Don't go away.